good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you are. I'm Reverend Gail Dobert, and I welcome you to Unity of Bay City, to our wonderful podcast, Now What? Unity of Bay City is dedicated to all those who are seeking to discover their spiritual path and who strive every day to bring goodness and love into our beautiful world. How do we do that? We grow together as we discover and practice positive practical tools for our own personal and collective spiritual growth. No matter where you are on your life's journey, you are so very welcome here.
And there we are. Hello. How are you today?
I'm here.
Yay. I'm here.
Yes, trying to be alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. And
Alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Isn't there a song like that?
yeah, I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Alive, awake, alert, alert, awake, alive. I'm alive, awake, alert, enthusiastic. Not quite there actually this morning, but
Right on. All right. Well, let's jump right into it.
all right.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Scott Love, and I will be your host on this fantastic journey through transformation and personal growth. You are listening to Now What, a podcast brought to you by the Unity of Bay City, and I'm joined today by the minister Gail Dobert. How are you doing today, Gail?
I'm fine, thanks, Scott.
Excellent. So, what's going on in your life this week? You have a lot going on. Every week I say you have a lot going on, but you really do.
I really do, and that's the way I like it.
Yeah.
And some days it wears me out a little bit, but um, I like to have a lot going on, and it's the Gemini of me.
Gemini. That's. What are some of the hallmark traits of Geminis?
Well, it's the twins, so it's like two two people,
Yeah.
and just the curiosity and um, always wanting to do more, learn more, be more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. I'm a Virgo, and I didn't recognize just how much of a Virgo I was until later in life. One of the things that I've noticed about myself is that without structure, without some type of order in place, whether it's self-created or stepping into another system, I while I handle chaos well, I don't enjoy chaos. I enjoy order. I enjoy ABC, not QB4A, whatever. Yeah, so right on. What's on your mind this week? Yeah?
Well, and in speaking to that, Gemini's like to always have a back door, and order is not necessarily in our or my.
Okay.
um, I enjoy it when it's present, and so yeah, you can. That's why we all are so different. We can pull from each other's strengths and help each other when we're in our moments of chaos, or
Yeah.
like it or not, right?
It's like, are you familiar with, I might have asked you this before, human design?
Yeah, just from what you have said, yeah.
Right. So I remember back when I was first introduced to human design, it was introduced to me by a friend of mine out of Sedona. And she was really adamant that because there's various aspects, there's like 5 or 6 different types of main designs, and there's variations of each and influences and all that other stuff. But one is like projector, one is a reflector, one is a uh, manifest generator, and one is a manifester. And it turns out I'm a generator, and which means I churn out the work. But her suggestion was to make sure that my board of people that were helping me create it were all various aspects of this human design to create like a complete team, which I thought
Wow.
was, and we did that a little bit, but then, you know, other things took over, and I just had to go with what I had. So yeah, it's interesting how, you know, we're all just different facets of the same gem, really
We
reflecting light a
are.
little
We
differently.
are. We're completely connected and disconnected at the same time.
Right.
And I suppose if we allow ourselves um, to follow our own and not resist others' design,
Mm-hmm.
we would organically make those kind of teams where we have the strengths and weaknesses of each other.
A little bit.
So I'm trying to kind of go. I don't know why I keep trying to look that way,
Mm-hmm.
but
Maybe there's
anyway,
that energy over there
it's
keeping you
weird.
company.
So yeah, we've been talking. It's this Fillmore month at Unity of Bay City.
Okay.
Charles and Myrtle are co-founders, and have they're very interesting people in their own right, without being, this. They never wanted to be heralded as heroes or mystics or whatever. They were people who had proved the principles that they learned from others in the 1800s, and really from birth. I mean, they both uh, grew up in some circumstances that were challenging just because of the year that they were born. Myrtle was born in 1845,
Wow.
which was, she was
110 years ago.
16 years old when the Civil War broke out. I mean, that's a long. There was some big stuff going on in those early in her early development, and she was 9 years older than Charles, um, and they met Denison, Texas, at a class that they were with these groups because they both loved classic literature and the greats at that time, and that's how they met, because they were very intellectual in that way. So
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
so it was 1890 when the Unity movement was really kind of became formalized as Unity.
So let's think about that a second. How old was she when the Civil War broke out?
16.
16. And she was born when?
1845. So the
Okay,
Civil
so that
War
was 200 years ago.
I guess.
Yeah. But it's crazy to think that the Civil War was actually that close to our modern era. For some reason, I
Yeah.
always think of it being, but then again, the United States is only 250 years old or something. So
Yeah,
it's
and there
really,
were only, I think, let's see, how many states were there in the Union at that time? Like 9 or 10,
wow.
something like that. And she was from Ohio, which was the northern state, of the Civil War. So
I just want to personalize that real quick. That means it's weird. I'm having one of those life epiphany moments. I've been alive for 1/5 of the length of time that the United States has been a country.
really,
How's that for weird, right?
how is it for weird, and I was just right, last week, last Sunday was when I talked about Myrtle, and as we celebrate Fillmore month, because they were both born in August, and but like I said, Myrtle was 9 years older than Charles, um, but certainly mental equivalence. They both were. She had formal education. He grew up in the middle of an Indian reservation
Wow.
in Minnesota.
She was older than he was?
She was older than him
So
by
she was a
9 years.
little cougar lady. 1800s cougar lady.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, this coming week it'll be about Charles, and his upbringing is really interesting. So I won't talk about that right now. We'll talk about
Maybe
that
next week.
for next week.
Yeah.
But yeah, her name is actually Mary Caroline Page, and they lived in Pagetown, Ohio, because her parents, they settled there and really were founders of the town. And there was like 9 kids, and she was somewhere in the middle there. But we're like, okay, Mary Caroline Page, where did Myrtle come from? And that was her father. She was one of his favorites, and he would throw her up in the air and say, "Oh, my little Myrtlie." And he taught her to dance when it was really against their religion. Her religion growing up was very strict, Methodist Episcopal, which I don't know that even exists these days. But and it reads that when the family wasn't really around, her dad taught her how to dance, what the Highland something or other, some spirited dance. And so
I can't even imagine growing up in a community where dance was
yeah,
not only allowed, but I mean promoted, encouraged.
yeah,
Yeah.
they weren't allowed to play cards or dance or um, you know, but there was but they were intellectuals, they really, because she was at at that time, she actually got to go to college, which was probably like 6 months or
Yeah.
something. And she became a teacher. That's where she met Charles.
Goes
In
back to that whole idle hands. If you have time to play, you have time to pray.
yeah, or
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Put that hammer in your hand.
That's right. Because they didn't have many modern appliances at that point,
Right.
or indoor plumbing or those kind of things. But Myrtle, because of their disciplined kind of lives that in her family, and then, like I said, Charles definitely too, but in a completely different way. So you'll have to stay tuned for next week to hear about Charles. Um, and but the the discipline that they had um, is what formed the Unity movement. Because Myrtle was always told that she was going to inherit tuberculosis and all these weak, these terrible afflictions, because that's what was in her family. There was a lot of tuberculosis, there was a lot of other illnesses, and so they told her, "You're going to be sickly. You're going to inherit all this stuff." And after she and Charles started taking some metaphysical classes um, together, along with these great philosophers and writers that they loved. E.B. Weeks and Emma Curtis Hopkins were New Thought folks that were teaching, and they'd go to the lectures, and it dawned on her one day, because she was 40 years old with 3 small children and given like 6 months to live.
Wow.
And she's like,
Because TB showed up then?
yeah, oh yeah, TB and all kinds of internal stuff. She talks about her hemorrhoids and
Hemorrhoids.
Yeah, and all these internal afflictions. And so she took to heart these teachings about, wait a minute, you're a child of God, therefore you don't inherit sickness.
Mm-hmm.
We inherit the thoughts of it. We inherit the belief in family matters, that, okay, well, if my mother had this or that, then I could have that too, because she did, like, but it's, I think, those deep thoughts about health and healing and wholeness and and that we pass things down because biologically, um, scientifically, maybe that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But spiritually, it doesn't, because we can recreate who we are as we go. We can give in to certain things. And this doesn't discount, you know, like because somebody in your family had something that you're going to get it. It's not demeaning passing things down genetically.
Right. And that's how
There is
genetics work.
science about that.
Yeah.
But this is science of the mind, with a capital M. The,
Right.
you know, so she took this to heart, and for 2 years before she told anybody what she was doing, in fact, she said Charles never really paid that much attention at first. They would go to classes, but she took this, and after she got all those little boys in bed and things, she would go into the silence, and she would forgive. She would thank her body, every organ, every tissue. She would be grateful for that it's such an amazing, miraculous thing, this human body of ours. And so she would talk to her liver and her spleen and her stomach and her intestines and her, and just be grateful. Um, and allow them to heal, allow them to be whole. And after 2 years, she was completely healed of all the stuff she had.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Let's just take a second with you and me and the listener, and let's just really sit in gratitude for our bodies.
Yeah.
And let's just feel that, like, I'm grateful for this body. It's a vehicle.
Yeah, it breathes us. We don't have to think about breathing every breath, do we?
No.
And when that breath comes, it changes and aligns, and it really is a gift.
All right.
So she never really wrote any books, but they compiled, her staff or people, as she went along, because prayer, affirmative prayer, is what she practiced. I am whole and healthy. I am a child of God. Therefore, I do not inherit illness. I inherit health and wholeness. That I am statement is the affirmative prayer, and it works both ways. I am an idiot. I am blah blah. All the things we say to ourselves that are detrimental, the universe hears those too. Anna says, okay, because it always says yes. The source, God, says yes. And that's why God gets such a bad rap. Well, if you're God, why are you letting me suffer like this?
Mm-hmm.
If there is a God, what's happening here? Then, help me. And it does say yes to that too. But our overriding thoughts, backed by the feelings we have, because just thoughts are just thoughts, random thoughts. My gosh, if we manifested everything we thought, what a mess, right? What a mess. And so it's thoughts backed by feeling, thoughts backed by old beliefs and things that we were taught as a child that we don't even really remember physically. We don't have a real clear memory of it, but we do have memories that are stored in our tissues. And so we can go through and cleanse those with our higher thoughts and our deepest faith in knowing that we can shift what's happening in our body. And so from that, she wrote letters to people. When Unity started in 1890, it was silent Unity. That was the first part of Unity, was prayer. And we called it silent Unity because that happens in the silence.
Right.
But people were writing letters, and they had a Modern Thought magazine is how some of the word got out. It's because Charles had some, he had some background in publishing and knowing how to do that. He was a businessman, and he had lots of different talents. And so then word got out about Myrtle's story, and people were writing letters all the time asking for how to heal this, how to heal that. Not just their body, but their lives, their children, all that. So she never wrote a book, but they were compiled. How to Let God Help You, compiled a lot of her wonderful teachings, and then they compiled a lot of her letters that she had written and answered to people, called Healing Letters. So, you want me to take a minute and read a little bit of an excerpt from her?
Sure, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. She said, I simply had great faith that God, the loving Father, had marvelously revealed himself to me as my help in every need. My faith inspired others to have faith. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. And now I'll speak to her words, because saying God the Father and that he revealed himself to me, that was the pervading language about power and presence that today we mostly call our source energy.
Right.
We can call it God, we can call it Henry if we want to, but we
Hey,
just
Henry.
know that clarity.
Yeah.
That God isn't a deity in the sky, but God is everywhere present within us. So the faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. She said there were family problems too. We were a sickly lot and came to the place where we were unable to provide for our children. In the midst of all this gloom, we kept looking for the way out, which we felt sure would be revealed, and it was. The light of God revealed to us. The thought came to me first, she said, that life is of God, and we are inseparably one with the source, and that we inherit from the divine and perfect Father source. What that revelation did to me was not at first apparent to the senses, but it held my mind up above negation, and I began to claim my birthright and to act as though I believed myself a child of God filled with this life. I gained health and understanding. Wow, that's that understanding. Seek you first to understand, right?
Right.
That is so important. And it's hard when it's metaphysical, it's beyond the physical. We have a tough time with that. And that's okay, because we're human. It's part of our deal, part of our shtick here on Earth, you know?
Right.
We're going to have these challenges. We're going to have these flaws. We're going to have these, and we have an outlet when we take time in the silence, or write out our prayers, our affirmative prayers, affirming what you want, not what you don't want. And so she gained in health and understanding. Others saw that there was something new in me and asked me to share it, and I did. Others were healed and began to study. My husband continued his business and at first took little interest in what I was doing, which I find really interesting. And then he too became absorbed in the study of truth. She was just silently going about her work of healing her body. She wasn't going around saying, hey,
look at me,
I'm healed, and I'm doing this stuff every day, you should join me. No, she proved it first. She completely proved it to herself. And people were taking notice, and they couldn't help take notice. From this sickly woman with 6 months to live to this vibrant wife, mother, teacher now.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. So, and she started, like, at first she was a little like, well, people are coming to me for all this stuff. Why are they, she's like, then it kind of dawned on her that she said, I believe that God could help them. And so she would just give them really the same advice kind of over and over again for their different situations. So,
Very cool.
yeah.
And how long did she live for?
She was 87, I think.
Good full life.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yes. And overcame a lot of, I mean, the Unity grew so quickly. At that time, they had 500 employees,
Wow.
and they had a big farm, and they had to decide, do we want to be farmers or do we want to do the spiritual movement? So they had to kind of let the farm part go and focus on this. Um, and so it bloomed. And then with Charles's innovations, he's very innovative because he did the publishing that was called Modern Thought, I think, first. It's now Unity Magazine. It has been for many moons, since like the 1895 or so, or 90. That's when Silent Unity started. But then a few years after that, the magazine and letters and all those kind of things started happening. Well, he was the first minister, and he didn't consider himself a minister, to have a radio program.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, had a radio program. It's like, what? And then in 1907, they installed telephones, where there was only about 7% of the country had or knew about telephones.
Wow.
Because they were getting telegrams and written letters, and he came upon this new gadget called the telephone, and that began Silent Unity telephone ministry.
That's cool. And that's still going today.
Yes, it's still going today. Absolutely is. 24/7. I had one person, because I lived and worked at the village and was director of Silent Unity for about 10 years, and had we would give new employees of whatever department they were in a tour of Silent Unity, because that was our bedrock,
Yeah.
And this one gal, I was taking her, she was customer service, and I took her on a tour, and I said, yeah, we're open 24/7. We never close. And if there's a tornado in the area, we go to the basement and we hold vigil until it passes. And she looked at me and she's like, oh, it's like a hospital for souls.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Because we're always, hospitals never close. And so
that's cool.
I thought that was kind of sweet.
Yeah. Spiritual triage.
Yeah, spiritual triage.
Very cool.
So that's our Myrtle.
Nice. What of her teachings, which resonates with you the most? Like, what really excites you?
It is that it's so simple, that these teachings are really, we can boil it down to what our deepest faith, our highest thoughts, and our deepest faith combined changes everything.
Yeah.
That we want it to change. The simplicity of it is what I love.
Are you familiar with The Golden Key by Emmett Fox?
Yes.
Yeah. And that's what blows me away, is the simplicity of the Golden Key. And it's essentially the same thing. I mean, there's different verbiage, and Emmett Fox came quite a bit after that, so I'm sure he was influenced by the whole rising of the new thought movement. But the idea that no matter what is going on in your life, no matter what trials or tribulations, you don't have to like pray with some type of ultimatum, or pray with, God, please remove this situation. No, all you have to do is be conscious of and present of and think about God itself. Just think about God. And I've practiced that. I've that's showed up in my life over and over and over again. And I have many times, just no matter what the situation is, whether it's legal or whether it's a relationship or financial, just sit here and focus on. And what does that mean? It means like I literally just be like, okay, what is God? God is love. What does love feel like? Love is bliss. It's joy. It's perfection. What does caring for somebody feel like? These are all aspects of God. And I just focus on God for a while, different aspects of God, until my mind meanders away. And then every time the idea of the issue or um the issue comes up, just go back to thinking about God. And soon enough, you look back and you're like, oh wow, that never even materialized. A lot of what we think and worry about is in our head, is only in our head anyhow.
It is.
It's and so it's like 99% of our issues and our troubles and our insecurities and our angers and resentments, it's all right here. If we can just get a grasp of that, 99% of our issues go away.
It's true, and it's this thinking mind, and we can't stop that. So that's where we get to say I'm 100% human and 100% divine,
Yeah.
because I have just as much humanity, divinity in me, my very soul, that I do humanity. And this human life doesn't last all that long.
Right.
In each incarnation that we have, and so we have multiple opportunities to change our mind. And I think one of the golden keys for me is it's thought backed by feeling.
Yeah.
And when you take it into your heart, into your soul, and believe it, like I said, it can go either way. Because
Yeah.
if you really believe that life is hard, and that it seems like, well, why would anybody believe that? Well,
Yeah.
it's just part of being human, because life
A
is
lot of it's
hard.
habitual too.
It is habitual, and
Yeah.
life is hard as human beings. We go through stuff,
Right.
but we have this ability to be able to shift that. We have that gift.
Yeah. And I guess that's kind of where free will comes in. To
Yep.
say that our lives are, if the choices of our lives are like a connected dots picture. You can see, if you go back, how every choice has affected the whole picture. So what my biggest concern, there are people that are so trapped into negative thinking and are so trapped into victim mentality that they think every aspect of life is against them in some way. And so, where's a good place to start for people like that? People that are just really locked into, what I call the negative creep mentality.
Where to start is with the breath,
Yeah.
because I have studied and taught this kind of stuff since I was in my late 20s, early 30s. Okay. Many moons.
Mm-hmm.
And do I have this perfect body, perfect life, perfect abundance? Well, it depends on what you call perfection, right?
Right. It's all
I'm doing
relative.
I'm doing the best I can as a human.
Right.
And so, but when I get tangled up, and I've had a rough couple of years here on this planet, with physical loss of my husband, with just life, changing life. That's one thing we don't particularly love as humans, is change. I start with the breath. I'm like, get a hold of yourself here, because I'll start running these negative thoughts, running, and
Right.
they're just like, until I just just have to stop. I have to say, just breathe, okay? Just I'm gonna breathe. I'm always breathing, but just take a minute and pay attention to your breath. Just follow the breath. Just follow your breath. Just for a minute. Let's just do that right now. Just if your mind is racing, it's not going to stop. But if you bring it into coherence with the rhythm of your heart and just be that, just that. If nature is something that soothes you, stick your head out the window if you can't go outside.
Right.
Just look out. Find something that'll derail that a little bit. A bird in the tree, you know, in the summer. And here in Michigan, there's so many beautiful parts of nature, really every state in the union. Even if you lived in the middle of New York City, you can find something to shift your focus from this inner turmoil and pain and just, you know, so the worst of the worst really is right there in our breath.
Yeah.
Take a moment, and then do it again. I say little and often that we can try to align our heart and our mind and bring it into coherence. And being coherent means that we're not being um, scattered and afraid and anxious and all of those things that we humans do so well. So just the breath. And again, that's why I love these teachings, is because it is simple.
Right.
And because it is simple, we humans tend to walk right over it.
Right. Take it for granted.
Yeah.
I find it when I feel myself agitated and frustrated, or annoyed, or feeling like things aren't going the way I want them to. At any given moment, I can just start the day over. At any given moment,
Yeah.
I can just be like, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pretend in my imagination that whatever that is coming to a close right now. And what can I focus on that brings me joy, that I'm grateful for? Maybe it's just a thought or a memory, or, it's I guess that kind of ties back into the whole golden key thing, or what Myrtle taught, which is, it's about our thoughts. You know, I can have a fresh start starting right now. Yep.
Yeah.
Those are
I
really
like the
cool.
way you said that, Scott. It's like I can start this day again.
Yeah.
But this is right this second is the beginning of a new 24 hours.
It is.
Of a new moment in time. And that's what like Eckhart Tolle teaches, the power of now.
Yeah.
If you're in this now moment, then you're not living backwards. You're not trying to fix things or understand things that happened even yesterday. We stay in this moment. And and Myrtle said, quiet time is of great help. You know, it's a for getting time. People, when I use the word meditation, a lot of people run screaming. I can't meditate.
Right.
Well, don't then. Just have a little quiet time where you breathe.
Stillness. Mindfulness.
Quiet the mind.
My dad would, when I first started meditating, my father is the one who taught me. I was young, and I was diagnosed ADD, and so I couldn't sit still. And he started me with a really simple mindfulness exercise, which was pick a spot, just look at it, and don't stop looking at it, and just keep looking at it, and then, ask yourself, how did that spot get there? Is it a nail? I wonder who the person who nailed that was. Did they do it all in one swoop? What is the purpose of that nail? What color is that nail? And then just keep looking at it. And then pretty soon you're focused on that nail, you're mindful of that nail, and all this other clutter just kind of disintegrates. Now, as soon as you stop looking at that nail, it might come back, but at least in that moment, you had the relief.
Yeah.
And then maybe switch it again. So then that was the gateway into meditation for me. Was that really simple mindfulness exercise?
That was, and my dad did similar things for me, and it was before ADD and all that stuff was even a thing, when I was a kid. And my mom was an amazing mom, but she was pretty hyper too. She was always on the go, always doing, and Daddy was a little better at. He was this calm presence, and um, he came up from his little workshop in the basement with this ball of string and wire and just jumbled. He said, "Could you untangle this for me? Because I can use some of these things. Could you untangle this for me? Just like the nail on the wall, the spot." And so I laid on my bed and just focused on untangling all of that for a long time.
Yeah.
And
Give
I'll
you something to
never
focus on.
forget that, because it calmed me down. I was able to, just not focus on all other teenage angst stuff.
You know what that story reminds me of is one of the final scenes in What About Bob?
Yeah.
When Bill Murray, when Dreyfus carries or takes Bill Murray into the woods and ties him up in all these knots.
Yeah.
And Bill Murray is just like, oh, I get it. Knot therapy. If I untie myself from all these knots, I'm untying myself from all my problems. Yeah.
I'll have to watch that again. It's been a long
It was
time
so
since
great.
I've seen it. It's a pretty
So
funny
great.
movie, pretty good
Very,
movie.
very
Yeah.
good. Very good. Very good.
One thing in the letters, healing letters, this line I really, really appreciate by Myrtle. There's many, but if we are ever to understand and use the higher spiritual laws, we must learn to use the laws governing our present state. So, right here, right now, we don't have to get all, study all of this esoteric things and be this, great seer, or it's just what's governing what we're doing right now. The spiritual laws are always working in us. And then when we get to pay attention, and say, oh, the universe is saying yes to me anyway, and so what do I want to manifest in my life? She says, as we do this, we shall see that they are really different phases of the same law. The bounty of God is within us, undeveloped and all about us, unused and misunderstood. It is ours to grow, to understand, to master, to use all that Source has. Did I hear you say that healing comes from the spirit within, but prosperity comes from without? She's like, are you sure? So all of it, because the things we manifest out in our lives, our home, our money, these outer things, it works the same way, as because her focus at first was about her body, because she would have died if she hadn't have grabbed hold of herself and healed her body, so that then this humanness can then go on out and do things in the world. So,
right on.
So she said, you must provide the manifest substance of life and elements of proper food, drink, and sunshine and air if you're going to work on your human body. Because it's the humanity and the divinity together. So you can't say, heal me, heal me. I want to, She was moved by spirit to become a vegetarian. And they had the first and biggest vegetarian restaurant. Of course, they say in the world. The world was fairly small
Right.
for them in the United States. That seated over 200 people in downtown Kansas City, and but see, there's where we can go. Think, oh, vegetarianism is going to save me. Vegetarianism is what's going to make me better. Oh, no, don't eat meat, it's bad. Well, it's not true for everybody,
Right.
you know?
For some people, it is. Again, it's their choice.
It is, but it's the choice that we think about.
Yeah.
If we think that meat is really bad for us, but that wasn't her experience. She just was led to that because that's what her body was calling for, more nutrition in that way.
Mm-hmm.
So what is your body calling for? What's my body calling for? You know, and then follow that. So
Very good.
yeah.
So what's going on around Unity these days?
What isn't? We have so many wonderful things at Unity of Bay City coming up and going ongoing. Of course, we're in, like I said, Fillmore month right now. On Sundays, there'd be different aspects of the Fillmore legacy that we are blessed with. And we have our women's retreat, our Wonder of Women retreat coming up.
Wow.
Yeah, in
Whoa,
September.
man.
The second weekend of September. So you can get all that on our website, and on Sundays we announce it. We have World Day of Prayer is the second Thursday of September. And just within, there's always a class. We've got a little lunch and learn on Wednesday at Unity of Bay City, neurographics, which is really cool.
When is that coming up? This coming Wednesday?
It's Wednesday, yeah, at noon.
Okay. So that being this coming Wednesday, if that's a week from yesterday, that'll be the 13th.
Pause. Yeah, the 13th of August. So cool. It's bring your lunch, and it's a really cool little class.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Very good. Well, Gail, thank you so much for joining us and for giving us this little history lesson on Myrtle Filmore and the Filmores and her story. I've always been fascinated with the origins of the Unity Church and how it started out as a seed in this living room and became this worldwide movement, and it's incredible.
Yeah, been around for about 150 years now. Wow. And it is worldwide. And stay tuned for next week, because I'll be talking about Charles and his unorthodox, crazy childhood and growing up. It's really fun.
Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in. If you are not subscribed, please take a second to subscribe to Now What? And you can find out more about the Unity of Bay City at unityofbaycity.com. And thank you so much. Have a blessed day.